Next guests arrived here this morning fully clad, and they thought that they overdressed for the interview. They thought maybe they had to come on Morning Live in a Speedo, but they don't have to. It's not the new dress code, I promise you. Let's get very serious now. Refugees and asylum seekers are migrants who have been forced to flee their homes due to war and persecution. While South Africa has an international obligation to receive refugees, it should also be seen as an opportunity to benefit the country. The International Organization for Migration, in partnership with the city of Johannesburg and UN Human Rights Council, is launching a campaign aimed at highlighting the positive contributions of migrants in South Africa. Joining us is Dr. Erick Ventura. He is IOM's Chief of Mission in South Africa. He is with Emanuel Nkole, a DRC-born fashion designer, social developer, and entrepreneur who's pursuing fashion designing training in partnership with the Department of Social Development. Both of you, thank you so much for coming in, and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much.
Why is this type of dialogue so important?
I think it's important because in the current societies, the migration is a reality. And this is the century of mobility and the migration. So we are talking about 1 billion people moving cross-border and internally. So I think the social cohesion is very important because migration is one of the strategies for development, especially for the receiving and sending countries. So I think the dialogue is a very important, especially to try to clarify the positive impact of the migrants and these misconceptions about the migration in general.
Emanuel, let's talk to you now. Why did you want to come to South Africa, and how long have you been here?
I've been here since October 1999.
Yeah.
And why I came to South Africa, you see, we have different stories all across Africa. And by the time I decided to come to South Africa, I was already a designer. And I had this passion of growing and be among the best in the world. And at that time, the shortest distance that I could go was to come to South Africa and then explore a different world out of the DRC.
And it's been good for you?
Yes, it has been good. Why? Because I was determined in what I was doing. I didn't just come hoping to get anything. I knew what I was pursuing, and I knew what to do and what decisions to take all the time.
Yeah. You know, there's always this underlying anger almost amongst locals, and particularly here in South Africa. And I think it's, you know, it's a fact to put it out there and say that they feel that a lot of immigrants come here to South Africa. They get work, but it's at much lower pay, and the unemployment rate among South Africans is much higher. What is the response to something like this? How do we deal with a situation where this type of anger is raging amongst South Africans, which it is?
Well, we are seeing that, of course, the issue that you raise is clearly, I mean, a conception, general conception somehow in the societies. But again, we need to acknowledge the fact that migrants or the country, they require some type of migration as well. The government, they last year, for instance, they raised the issue that 50,000 skilled workers are needed in South Africa. But also at the same time, some type of the traditional areas like the mining sector, the commercial farms, they require the migrants as well. So it's a very complex situation. It should be addressed, I mean, intergovernmental issues that they need to be seen, labor, and also try to facilitate the development of the country in all these areas. But again, also the issue of internal migration is important to see. Cities like Johannesburg, we have a large number of internal migrants who are contributing also to the development of the societies. And again, the migrants can contribute because they pay taxes. They also they bring the skills as well. So this is the issues that we need to see as a positive impact of the migration.
Yeah, I mean, for you, Emanuel, you're actually going into rural areas and you're training potential fashion designers there. So I mean, you really are, you're trying to give back to South Africa.
Definitely, that's what we've been doing since 2009 when we founded Fumo Empowering Connection.
Yeah.
My partner and I, he's a South African, Vincent Piki. we came up with this idea of training young people, because there are some people who are passionate about fashion, but the fashion industry is very expensive. From studying to working, fashion industry is extremely expensive. So we came up with this model of program for a very short period of like 6 months, giving them a hands-on training, an intense kind of training that will enable them to either get employment or employ themselves or start working for themselves. So we came up with this idea of training young designers from disadvantaged communities. So our age gap was between 18 to 35 years of age.
Yeah.
And we've been successful to that. And so far, more than 400 young people have been trained in all our 5 regions of Gauteng province.
Good. Now, I mean, something like this obviously is key to the campaign that you are running now. You're trying to show the contribution that migrants are making to South Africa. Talk to us about this campaign. Let's end off there.
Yeah, no, this campaign we started actually last year with the campaign I'm a Migrant Too. And we concentrate in the similarities, because somehow in the past people were concentrating the difference, try to see the rich cultures that we have in Africa. But now it's the positive stories is really important to hear what the migrants are contributing to the societies, like in the case of my colleague here. But it's very important to highlight that the migrants are not really a burden to the country, but the opposite case, they are contributing. Let me give you the example. For instance, in medical doctors, we have 800 doctors from DRC working in the rural areas, and this is a very positive, and the same numbers in terms of teachers and in some universities. So migrants are really contributing to the society, and again, this also for the development of the sending countries is really important. So the issue of remittances is a very, very huge area that we are looking at as well. So and they need to contribute at the country, but also in the sending countries. So remittances per year for South Africa, going out from South Africa, is around $700 million.
Sure.
So it's very important.
It is. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. Thank you so much for shedding some light on the contribution that refugees and asylum seekers are making here in South Africa. I think it's this dialogue that will perhaps help when it comes to the treatment of immigrants in South Africa. My guests were Dr. Erick Ventura. He's IOM's Chief of Mission in South Africa, and Emanuel Nkole, a DRC-born fashion designer, social developer, and entrepreneur who's pursuing fashion designing here in South Africa.